Hi, and welcome to All About Adulting. I'm Kimberly Buckley, and I'm the library manager at the Concord Library located in Contra Costa County. Well, I'm very excited to be presenting here at the 2020 YALSA Symposium, and I'm also very excited to be talking about one of my most favorite programming topics for teens. I first became interested in teaching adulting before adulting was even a popular term. Back in 2014, when I was a new library manager, I was contacted by a local high school teacher who asked me if I could come up with a life skills program for her students. And at first, I thought to myself, what could I teach these students, and would they even be interested in what I had to say? Well, at that same time, it just so happened that my son was about to turn 18, so I thought this was a perfect time to start to build a list of important life skill topics that would be great for library programming, but also great for me to pass on to my son. And thus, my journey to learn all about adulting began, and here I am today to talk to you about some ideas that can help you to plan your own adulting workshops. So before we get started talking about adulting, I wanted to share this meme that I think is really funny because, like many of us, I didn't have Google when I was growing up. I had to learn things by making mistakes and going through trial and error. And I made a lot of mistakes for sure. And you know how it goes. If you don't first succeed, then you try and you try again. Well, we know that Google makes life a lot easier for everyone. But let's face it, if teens just hit Google up for answers, they won't really learn the life skills that they need to know when they start to merge toward adulthood. So, what is adulting anyway? Well, this is a question that a lot of people ask me. And, adulting can actually mean a lot of things. Through my years of working with teens and planning life skills classes, the word adulting has changed somewhat over the years. And many times I've heard people say that they're done adulting. And I even bought a mug the other day that says, I'm done adulting, because I thought it was really cute. But in real life, adulting doesn't really work like that. The definition of of adulting means to do grown-up things like get a job, pay your bills, or do your own laundry. But the number one point of adulting is that they're being independent, doing their own things on their own, and that they are being responsible. So why is adulting trending then? Well, if you're wondering why adulting is such a popular topic right now, I think it stems from the fact that there are so many young adults that are connected to the feeling that they don't want to be an adult. So this allows them to hold on to their youth for as long as they can. Well, ultimately, many young adults just don't know how to take the steps to become an adult on their own. And growing up really is hard. Just think about all of the things that adulthood involves. Well, as you enter adulthood, you're gaining a sense of belonging and you're finding your community and carving out a piece of the world for yourself. But it's also about engaging with life by being armed with all of the knowledge needed to step into adulthood, which also includes a struggle to find a career that sparks passion and the ability to balance that passion with financial independence. And navigating the ups and downs of growing up is a reality for many young adults. So the experience of learning how to be an adult can be very rich. And it could also feel less daunting if presented in a relaxed and somewhat informal how-to format with hands-on activities. And this is where adulting workshops at the library come into play. These kinds of workshops can help young adults to learn and understand the important life skills and checkpoints that they need to know to go forward as an adult. So I always thought that I was just working with teens who were in high school or college, but now I have found out that there is a term for those that are on the edge of becoming adults. And this term is called emerging adults. And they are on the path to adulthood, and they're taking steps from being a dependent child to becoming an independent adult. So let's dive a little bit deeper into understanding this life stage. They're not yet attaining full adult status, so it's a perfect time for them to test the waters of what it's like to be an adult while not yet completely being one. This age range for emerging adulthood is usually from ages 18 to 25, but nowadays it could actually extend up to age 29 or older. Dr. Jeffrey Jensen Arnett is the founder of the term emerging adult, and he has dedicated his career to understanding how people change and grow across their lifespan. His passion is driven by a desire to understand how young people perceive and engage with their world, especially as they evolve from children into adults and they take on additional responsibilities. And one of the most crucial facts about adulting that emerges from this research is that there is a changing timetable for when adulthood begins now. And this is happening more and more, with 1 in 3 emerging adults still living at home with their parents. Emerging adults are also 3 times more likely to be receiving financial help from their parents than the past generations. There are many factors that can be seen as the cause of this, possibly the 2008 recession, increasing debt, helicopter parents, rise of housing costs, and if parents cook, clean, and pay bills for an emerging adult, it is difficult for them to become an independent adult on their own. So, this part of Arnett's research really fascinates me because the young adults that he worked with, they all seem to define their experiences as an in-between state. They claimed that they separated themselves from their adolescent experiences to try and gain a tiny bit of independence, yet they still wanted to stay closely tied to their parents so that they wouldn't have to exclusively become an adult. So, this demographic, which Arnett defines as emerging adults, they share 5 key characteristics. It's an age of identity exploration. Young people are deciding who they are and what they want out of work, school, and life. Instability, the post-high school years are marked by repeated residence changes as young people either go to college or live with friends or a romantic partner or roommates. But for most, frequent moves end as families and careers are established in their 30s. There's a self-focus, which is when they are freed of the parent and they have a society-directed routine. Young people try to decide what they want to do or where they want to go and who they want to be with before those choices get limited by the constraints of marriage, children, and a career. And there's that feeling of being in between. Many emerging adults say they are taking responsibility for themselves, but they still don't completely feel like an adult. And there's the possibilities, and here optimism rules. Most emerging adults believe they have good chances of living better lives than their parents did. For example, even if their parents are divorced, the research shows that they believe they'll find a lifelong soulmate. And this is just a small list of some of the milestones that young adults need to do as part of the transition into adulthood. Many of these are listed here, like get a job, budget money, learn how to cook, do their own laundry, open a bank account, obtain their own health care, maintain personal hygiene, and make their own appointments. Well, I also have some startling statistics to share. 30% of college students don't know how to boil an egg. 52% of young adults do not know how to change a tire. And 70% of emerging adults can't sew a button or can't even sew at all. So many emerging adults might think things like boiling an egg or sewing a button are boring, or they might say, who cares about that stuff? Well, these are very important tasks that form the bridge over the gap between dependence and independence. So no matter how boring they think it is, growing up can be hard, but it's necessary. And the tough thing is that schools just aren't teaching the basic life skills that young people need to help them move through the emerging adulthood phase. So, home economics classes have slowly disappeared, and in some cases, students have expressed regret that they did not receive any life skills training, especially in the area of developing financial literacy. So, the challenge and the opportunity that we have with library programming is to encourage emerging adults and young adults to embrace all of the resources that are out there, which can make the process of bridging that gap a little smoother and a lot easier. So, through the process of creating workshops and classes based on essential life skills for young adults, I realized that basic life skills are pretty much not taught in schools or classrooms anymore. Some teens receive advice or encouragement from their parents, but in reality, many are on their own to figure out how to live in the world. So, my question is, without any guidance, where do they start? Well, sadly, students graduate from high school with limited knowledge regarding how to navigate through the expectations of the real world. But this is where the library can step in and provide adulting programs that focus on the living skills that are needed to maneuver through life. So, learning how to successfully become an adult stems from understanding and knowing about the essential living skills that they need. And some of the most important living skills that an adulting program can include are what I like to call the big three. So, the first one is jobs, also career. This is the difficult task of deciding whether to go to college, trade school, or instead to get a job. There's money, and we know how very important this one is. Managing money can be tough, and financial literacy is extremely important. And food. Well, let's just say that grocery shopping and cooking is definitely an essential adulting skill. Okay, so now that we know all of that, we can move on to what I think is the more fun aspect of adulting, is trying to figure out just what young adults need to know and how we can help them to apply it to their lives. And so if you ask any teen what type of job they would like to have, you might hear a vast array of things that they would like to do. But instead, we should ask them to think about what it would be like to already be doing that job they dream of, or what they might need to do to get that job. And once they imagine themselves achieving goals, they will start to see the potential for their future. They'll also find it easier to create steps for reaching their goals and begin a path for dealing with any obstacles that might turn up. An adulting workshop or class can inspire collaboration and can show support for young adults and empowering them to think big picture or long term. There are many things that can be covered in a job or career workshop, including how to create a resume, searching for a job, and applying for jobs, completing job applications, and successful job interviews. A resume class that is hands-on would be an excellent start for the adulting topic on jobs. It would be great to cover the basics of a resume because having a great resume can be a game changer for many teens applying for jobs. A resume can also include achievements, skills, and anything that relates to the job that they are applying for. And the purpose of a resume is to make a lasting impression on a prospective employer. So, what are some resume writing best practices? Well, always include an objective statement, which is a clearly defined goal that is specific to your skills and the job you're applying for. Also, you should keep your resume plain and simple and don't go over 2 pages. Keep your resume updated and never use an unprofessional email address. Did you know that 76% of resumes are discarded because of this mistake? You should use something simple that includes their name and possibly a number. Be careful for typos or spelling errors because those are the worst mistakes that we can make on our resumes and they'll get thrown out. And using LinkedIn to create a digital resume is very nice. Many employers are interested in online visibility. And as I mentioned earlier, hands-on practice is key. You don't want your library workshop to be a lecture about what a resume is. Instead, you want your participants to actually work on their resume. Providing sample resumes and templates is a great idea too. So, a great workshop would be on how to ace a job interview, because preparing for the big job interview, it would be a great library workshop topic. It provides a lot of opportunities for hands-on practice and opportunities to work on polishing social skills. Things you can cover in a job interview workshop are review common interview questions. Reviewing popular questions and practicing answers can also help to come up with their own answers. Practice interviewing. Applying for a job for the first time can be scary for many young adults. Pair up participants and have them do mock interview role plays to practice answering questions. Help them maintain eye contact and show them how to use appropriate body language. This really helps with being prepared and being confident as well. You can help them by prepare for the interview. Let them know don't just show up for the interview, but be prepared. The more information in hand, the better impression they will make on the interviewer. And speaking of impressions, how do you make the best impression? Well, the key to successful interviewing for young adults is to do exactly what a professional candidate for employment would do. That's the best way to make a positive impression on a prospective employer and enhance the chances of getting the job. In your library workshop, you could discuss important things to know, such as how to dress appropriately, how to answer questions in an informed manner, have questions ready to ask the interview, and in general, make the best impression that you can on the interviewer. Because as it says right there, you only have 8 seconds to make a great first impression. So moving on to workshop ideas for money, getting firsthand experience on dealing with money is a great way for anyone to learn about financial responsibility. Figuring out how to manage a personal checking account can help young adults to learn valuable lessons about budgeting, spending, and saving. Some great topics for workshops would be budgeting basics, managing a bank account, how to pay bills, and wants versus needs. Information can be shared on how to set up an account at a local bank or credit union. A fun hands-on activity would be to have teens create a budget for the week. There are many interactive online sites that offer budgeting activities that are just perfect for teens. So, of course, it's all about the money, and many of us know that there's no deep, dark, magical secret when it comes to money management. There isn't a crazy trick or a magic 8-ball that tells you what to do, and sometimes you just have to learn on your own what to do, which is why it is a great idea to plan a library workshop on the topic of managing money or financial literacy. The one secret that I do know is that when it comes to money, education is power. Many people spend their lives creating some not so great financial habits and probably kicking themselves later for letting it happen. The truth is, as long as you can teach young adults the really important concepts of money management, they'll be better off in the long run. I like to tell my adulting students funny stories from when I was young, and I always say, back in my day, and hopefully they'll laugh with me and not at me. So, once upon a time, back in the olden days when I was in high school, students learned about checking accounts and how to write a check in home ec class. And yes, we used to write out checks to pay for things, and I still have some in my drawer. Well, now we live in the world of online banking and budgeting apps, so it's really important for teens to know how bank accounts work, and a workshop on opening up a bank account, budgeting, and understanding the importance of saving money can be very important. So the topic of wants versus needs would be great for an adulting class that focuses on money management. There are some things that we definitely need to have, is a roof over our head, electricity in our house, gas in the car to get us from work to school. And then there are just some things that we want to have, like tickets to a concert or going out to dinner or a movie. And the good thing is that we can usually fit all of these things into our budget and still set aside money to save if we're managing our spending carefully. The needs are the things that are essential for us to be able to live and work. They are the recurring expenses that are likely to eat up our large chunk of our money. So here's some things that you could share in a adulting workshop. The common expenses that fall under needs: housing, transportation, insurance, gas and electricity, and food. And then the wants would typically include travel, entertainment, special clothing, gym memberships, and coffee drinks and smoothies. Well, a great idea for an activity would be to have a photo slideshow that shows how the lifestyles have changed over time. And for example, in the past, a smartphone would not was not considered a need. So you could ask teens to predict what they think the needs of the future will be, and then show them artifacts and historical photos to sort and they could sort them into the needs and wants piles. And I think this would be really fun. And reflecting on needs versus wants is an important way to help teens learn about money, their spending habits, and their choices. So, where does money go? Well, statistics were gathered for 2019 to see where young adults have spent their money. And you might be surprised by this list, but I think it's a pretty good list. And number one on this list is organic and natural foods. It says that young adults are choosing organic, well, at least for most products, and these are 18 to 25-year-olds. They're the biggest group of organic food buyers in the U.S. And according to the Organic Trade Association, this tilt toward organic will continue to grow as these young adults start families and they want the healthiest and freshest foods available for their children and for themselves. And organic food seems to be going mainstream. Well, next is the dreaded student loans. One of the largest expenses for many young adults, especially new college graduates, is student loans. Student loans are a big debt for many young adults and need to be added to that list of bills to pay. In 2019, the volume of outstanding student loan debt exceeded the combined national auto loan and credit card debt levels, with 71% of all graduates leaving school with loans to pay off. The average loan size was $31,000 with a monthly payment of $393. The next on the list is charity. Young adults are finding ways to give back that are meaningful to them and practical too. They favor companies that offer a chance to buy things they need, yet donate a portion of the purchase to help others. For example, Tom's Shoes, a favorite of many, gives one pair of shoes to a child in need for every sale that it makes. In 2019, travel was more personalized and accessible, and young adults are taking advantage of that. With discount airfares and Airbnb, young adults are seeing the world with as much ease and a little expense as possible. So next we're going to move into program ideas about food and cooking. Because food and cooking is a great topic to cover at an adulting workshop. We all need food. We have to have it to survive, and we need to make sure that we eat right each and every day. We need nutrients to ensure our best possible health, with all of this in mind, it's time to start thinking about how we can teach teens about nutrients and cooking. I'm going to go over some of the basics of what you can do for an adulting workshop with a focus on food and cooking. But because let's face it, as much as they would love to do DoorDash or Grubhub every day, it's just not a good idea, and it definitely costs too much. We can easily put together a series of adulting classes that can help teens understand the importance of having food in the house and in the fridge, and help them to understand how important grocery shopping is and how to prepare the food. And guess what? You don't even have to be a master chef to be able to do this at your library. I've got some tips and tricks to share with you on this topic, so let's get started. So the first is the grocery store workshop, and I'm telling you, it could be life-saving. It's a fun topic to cover in an adulting workshop. The first step to creating a grocery list is for them to go through the pantry and fridge and take an inventory of any staple items that they need. Eggs, milk, butter, granola bars, and any canned goods are usually considered to be staples or items that are frequently used and that are run out of more quickly than others. But another fun topic for an adulting workshop would be on meal prepping, because let's face it, cooking every day can be a real headache. You can offer some tips for preparing meals for the week and help young adults to be thrifty with their time and money, which is a great thing. Planning what to eat for the whole week is key for meal prepping. You can talk about the things that go into the meals, like grains, fruits, and vegetables, and protein. And there are many grains to choose from, like whole grain, brown rice, quinoa, oats, whole grain pasta, and they should include at least one fruit or vegetable that will give the meal plenty of vitamins and pretty color. And a must is a quality protein source, such as chicken, beef, eggs, seafood, beans, or tofu. Dairy products like milk, cheese, and yogurt are also protein rich. It would be a fun activity to have the teens create a shopping list with meal prepping in mind for the week. So, cooking and alternative ideas really do make for great library programs. This is one of my favorite topics to cover at an adulting class. It was actually this movie scene here with Johnny Depp from the movie Benny and June that made me think about doing a class with hands-on cooking. But since I didn't have a kitchen at my library, I thought, well, why not use something alternative like an iron? And let me tell you, cooking with an iron can be so much fun. There are a couple of really awesome things that you can cook with an iron. First, you want to make sure that you use foil because the iron can get ruined if it gets food all over it. So for my class, we just plugged in the iron and let it heat up to high heat, and then we put bread with cheese slices and foil and started by putting the iron on top of the wrapped up sandwich. Within 5 minutes, we had ooey gooey iron grilled cheese sandwiches, and they were delicious. We also made cheese quesadillas, and these might have been an even bigger hit. These were just as easy to make. Take 2 flour tortillas and put grated cheese inside. Wrap in foil and start ironing. In 5 minutes, you will have the best quesadilla ever. Well, I also heard that you can make s'mores with an iron, and I haven't tried this yet, but I am sure it would be good. You put together the traditional s'more sandwich with graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallows. Wrap in foil and iron that thing till the marshmallows and chocolate melt. And you know that sounds totally awesome. I also love the idea of using a microwave for a cooking workshop. I just found out you can do anything in the world with a microwave. I was just looking at all the possibilities that you can make with food if you just have a microwave. I don't even know where to start. There are so many. But let's start with French toast. So you can make French toast in a cup in the microwave. I never knew this, and I think I'm going to have to try it. But not right now, but maybe a little later. But all you need is 2 pieces of bread, 1 egg, 3 tablespoons of milk, some butter, and a few shakes of cinnamon. Put this all in a cup and microwave it for 1 minute, and there you have it. Yummy French toast. And don't forget to add your syrup. This sounds like the perfect recipe to try at your next adulting class. Okay, you guys, I am in awe right now, but I guess you can make pasta in the microwave, and that means you can make macaroni and cheese. It's as simple as putting water in a cup with the noodles and cooking it for a minute or 2. Then you add the cheese of your choice and a splash of milk and cook for 30 to 45 more seconds, and voila, you have macaroni and cheese. This sounds so easy to do. A toaster oven is also great because you can put it on the counter if you don't have a lot of space or if you don't have a full-size oven. They are little, but they pack a powerful punch. They can heat up to some pretty high heating levels. So I did some toaster oven cooking at my adulting program last year, and that was a giant hit. We came up with our own creation called toaster oven pizza, and here's what you need to make this delicious custom-made pizza. Heat the toaster oven to 425 degrees. Use pita bread, can of spaghetti sauce, mozzarella cheese, salami, pepperoni, or whatever topping their choice is. Cook in the toaster oven for 20 minutes and make sure the cheese is all melted. Be careful because it's going to be really hot. Use an oven mitt if you have one. Apparently, you can even bake chocolate chip cookies in a toaster oven. This would be so fun. You buy some pre-made cookie dough at the store, preheat the toaster oven to 375 degrees. Position the oven rack at the center of the toaster oven and put the pan of cookie dough inside. Bake them for 12 to 15 minutes. If you like soft cookies, take them out closer to 12. For crunchy, leave them in 15 minutes. All right, that's my tips on cooking and alternative cooking. I could really go on forever talking about adulting and all of the life skills topics that can be covered in an adulting workshop or class. And I hope that you have gotten some ideas on what you would like to try out at your library. I always like to show this meme that I made when I'm working with teens or emerging adults. I think it really rings true that sometimes when you're going through like tough situations, and you might think that you have no idea what you're doing. But if you just try something out, and I let them know this, I let the teens know if they just try something out and they give it a chance, it's going to definitely help, and especially if it's adulting. This is great because if the teens try it, it allows them to learn, grow, and move forward, which also helps them to be more prepared for adulthood. And if we can remember when we were younger, then we know it takes time to learn all of this stuff. And I'm sure that we also remember that there will be trial and error, and sometimes it takes a long time to become a seasoned grown up. And so we can let them know that if they are trying out something new, it's totally perfect. That is great, and they're gonna be fine, and they'll be ready in their own time. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. And if you have any questions at all, or you want to know more about adulting or my workshops, and I also taught a online course with info people called Growing Up is Hard. It's all about adulting programs for at libraries. And so I have a lot of information I can share if you want more information on library programs or how to set it up or anything. I'd be more than happy to answer. I'm Kimberly Buckley, and this has been all about adulting. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.